Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind on that Terry's Moon. Flight boss, star changer, URIEL. And I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, I'm gonna explain to you how to align yourself with the world. And when I say that, I mean the real world. How to align yourself with the being that we are in and be able to see out into the world that the being we are in is seeing out in. Now, this is for all you motherfucking conscious motherfuckers out here who think y'all got your own imaginary, illusionary ways. Really, it's just an added on, indoctrinated way of what you have already learned. But I'm going to give you the real perspective. So, I always got to break shit down before we get deep. Now, for the most part, you have a solar system within you, right? You know this, right? Now, the spirit. What is the spirit? The spirit is your space. Your space. You see what I'm saying? The spirit is your space. Now, we know everything vibrates out of the space. And the space is vortexing with the energy signature or whatever it's going to represent through whatever shape or form it creates. Now, one of the first shapes and forms, light forms, we create, one of our first lightest bodies we create is our sunlight, our ego, or our shine. This is one of our representations, our first form of lights that our spirit can ride in order to act out our expression, right? So now we know the sun, since it was the first one, it came out of the center. So this is why the sun always appears to be moving, but always appears to be rising compared to everything else that it created beside it. You see what I'm saying? So once we know that the sun is your solar system, which represents center, solar plexus, right? And then the rotation it has is the kind of letters and shapes and the signs we kind of give it to represent with the rotation and the pattern. So we may give it 8, 6, 3, 0. You know what I'm saying? We get it with a bunch of different shapes. But look, check this out. Since we know that's the stomach, right? Then going up, you got things like the moon, Mercury. You go down this way, you got shit like if the sun right here, you got shit like Venus, Mars, Jupiter. The lower you get to Saturn. You start to get down to the sex organs and shit like that. You see what I'm saying? So you understand that, right? And you understand the solar plexus. So it's circling you in the middle, but it's circling in a vortex, and it goes up here in the head space, and it goes down here, down in the feet space. So you get that, right? But it's going in a spiral, right? As far as your solar plexus, and that's where it always remain in the center. So you could be vibing high once it start using your lighter bodies, or you could vibrate low and utilize your lower bodies with your first conscious body, which is your sunlight. Once it come, give it light, aka life, and activate those vibrations. Now, you understand that, right? Now, what we up under right now, I want you to look at that. We are up under the sun, right? So, if we are within a being, right? And I just explained to you how your solar plexus is going, to think about you being a blood cell within this being we are in. So if you want to align yourself with the world, the true form that you're doing is you have to lay down. Because for the most part, when you're standing up in this being, you see what I'm saying? It's like when you're standing up, you're looking down. You see what I'm saying? You have to understand that. So when you're laying down and looking up, you're still looking down, because when you're looking up, the being that you're in is looking forward down the street. So this is what you need to do. You need to lay down. Now, all right. Once you lay down on the ground, right, you need to make sure, you see that sun right there? You need to make sure it's aligning. And once it go across, which y'all want to so-called, quote-unquote, call the dome, which I'm going to explain that, it need to go across your stomach. So if it's going across your head or anything, you're already doing it wrong. You see what I'm saying? Because your solar plexus is going across your stomach, right? So you need to make sure that sun is transitioning across your stomach. You see what I'm saying? Across your stomach. Now you're going to know what area of life it's in when it's traveling up or down, because if we're in Aries season, that means it's in the head space up here. You know what I'm saying? Right now we about to go into Gemini season, so it's in this space right now, traveling as a solar plexus in a circle. So when you close your eyes, you sun gaze. When you look at the sun without closing your eyes, right? And then long as you're angled right, you're lined up with the world, because that higher solar plexus within the being we are in is going in the same way your solar plexus is going in a lower level, and it's going in the same direction, so you're not out of whack or lost or need a sense of direction, because that's what everybody do once they start standing up upright. You see what I'm saying? They lose direction. Now, you need to understand we are in a three-layer being. This is how you start to understand your position and your direction and how to start seeing. So when you're laying flat on the ground and looking up, right, you're basically in the same position as the being you are in, right? So you are able, now you can have a sense of direction. Now you have a sense of where you're looking. Now you have a sense of what energies you're looking at and what positions, and there's a fire or water, things like, and now you can start putting together the illusion of the world that we are in. So now you're probably thinking, all right, how does this actually happen? This is what I need to explain to you now, because we are in a three-layer being. So let's go back to like the Asians or Chinese and things of that nature. They understood things in ways that other people may not have understood it. So when you think about the dragon, this is why their symbol is the dragon, right? Because the way that they analyze the travel of this being that we are in from way back then, right? When they snapshot it, the angle it was making was like a serpent, like, you know what I'm saying, a snake, like, so it represented the dragon. So this is why you get that concept of the dragon tail going back into the head and things of that nature, because this is what we are in. We are in that rotation, in that realm, in that transverse, in that being. So since it's the representation of the dragon, right, this is correlated to the Draconian constellation. So anytime you see any representation of the dragon, it represents the Draconian constellation. So this letting you know we're in this being, right? Now this being have many different layers. It has a head space all the way down to the tail space, right? So let me give you a perspective right now. You have this being, the Draco constellation, right? Then you have a being within that, which is the Centaur constellation. Then we are the beings within the blood cells within the Centaur constellation, right? And then damn, bug keep crawling on me. That I just knocked off me, right? So that's the three layers. And right now we're trying to create the fourth dimension. This is why we are creating the pupil, and we're trying to get more sharper image, more definition, more pointing out the particle out of the wave, more sharpness, more definition, more pointing out something that we can give a specific name or title or meaning to separate it from what it actually is or what it appear to be. You see what I'm saying? That's what the fourth dimension is coming from. More definition, where it's more separateness, taking something of all and breaking it down to seeing how it's separate and giving both separate names and things like that. So that's we start to get more it's just more definition. You know, you're not getting blind, you're having more sharper image now, which that's the real blindness. But now you're probably thinking like, okay, how we do this then? Since we're in a three-layer being like this, how we do this? All right, once upon a time, like I said, y'all called it TMI or GAIA, whatever like that, but your spirit is your space. You see what I'm saying? Your spirit is your space. So what does that mean? All things is imagined out from the spirit. Your spirit got an imagination, but it got to create a shape and form. It has to create a shape and form in order to express that imagination or experience that imagination, right? So it start creating light bodies and shit. So this is what you need to understand. The sun was one of the first bodies you created. One of the lightest forms, one of the lightest bodies you created for yourself. And that body can emulate and start creating other bodies and forms and shit as a spirit. So as a spirit, you are a space. Now this motherfucking overall space we motherfucking in, right? Y'all used to call it TMI or whatever y'all want to call it, Earth or whatever, this, that, and the third, whatever. It's just the space. And then that space imagination, that spirit imagination and dreams and things of that nature start taking shapes and form, which it created an ego for itself, which is the first form of light. That light start to travel and it acted as the dragon. This is why Dragon Ball Z, y'all see the dragon or whatever like that, this, that, and third. So this is the shape and form it likes to resonate. As a spirit, it resonate with. So Tiamat or Gaia, whatever like that, is just the space we are in. And the space is the spirit. And all the shapes and forms that get vortex out of that is lights and stars and shit like that. So that first form of inner male and female coming together, that first form of fluid and things of that. And I don't want to say that the first form, but I'm going to say when this being, this Draconian being, right, had the headspace, right, start to imagine and things of that nature, and created the seeds and things of that nature in shapes and forms that spirits can inhabit as the centaur constellation. So you know, the heavier it died, transform, and the heavier the sail, right, the lower in the body it goes. So now the centaur is like a greater sail in the Draconian constellation, but the bigger the sail, the more down it go. So it went down into this area. So this is the area y'all think y'all looking up to. And then within the Centaur constellation is where we created the sail, the atom. And the atom is in the shape and the form of mankind. And then we take, as lesser spirits, we take that sail, but it's in a bigger form. So us as a mini solar system, we came down as more fluid, and now we in this area, right? So in a Draconian constellation, kind of being that's the tail end. So if you want to go look at what's the closest stars to us, you're going to see it's the Centaur stars, things of that nature, and the Crux stars. We're in that constellation, right? And that constellation itself is a mini constellation, is a mini asterism, and the larger constellation, which is Draco, right? So we're in the bottom, we're in the tail end of the Draco. And after this, we're going to get spit out. Now, you can either go back into the headspace of the Draconian constellation, or you could spit out based upon your own level of imagination and your own spirit, right? And based upon what you created, you could go somewhere else. But a lot of people don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, when you're looking at it like this, our solar system, this part that we are in right now, as far as a being, we are in the Draconian constellation being, and the being inside that being is the Centaur constellation, and then we're inside that being. So we're in the in the tail end, which we call mankind, and things of that nature. And right now, when you look at it, you got to look at it like this. So all the solar system, which is the sun and all the planets and star, all of them together, right, is the fluid, like the sperm fluid, and we are all the sperm cells. Just we are another level of cells, right? And all level of cells are just forms, cells, prisms, lights, fluids, shapes, forms. So our spirit can take stars. Everything is stars. So our spirit can take to experience that realm of reality. And we see ourselves as that rotation, that shape, which you appear to think mankind, men and women. You see what I'm saying? And then we're living out as blood cells within that. So now you understand how when you're laying down, right, based upon the area we're at in the constellations that we are in, right, we're getting ready to get spit out through the sexual organs. We're not getting spit out through the mind or anything anymore. Like if we was on the higher levels, we've been taking levels down here, and we are in another fluid, and we're riding that blood. So when you look at water all over the land, see, this is how you get this knowledge. How meditating like this and doing things like this. This is how you get this knowledge. So you'll be able to understand, okay, so all the water we see down here is our version of the being we are in, blood. So when they say wash yourself in blood or eat the flesh of the being we are in, see, Lucifer is trying to make you think it's Jesus, so you think you're doing it through him. So you're trying to do it through a blood cell. You're trying to do it through a celebrity or one of these motherfuckers. And you got to think about it. It's many different. But when you're looking at it like this is what you need to understand. You are blood. You are a cell. So when you think water is the purest thing that cleanse you or whatever like that, you are water. You are blood. Water, all water concept down here, everything down here is the blood. So we are the blood flow, the bloodstream of the being we are in. And depending on the organ we are in, that's how we vibe. That's our vibration. And depending on that space and the energy in that space, that's the level of consciousness that we are at the moment. You see what I'm saying? So don't be tying consciousness to the spirit, y'all motherfuckers. I told y'all consciousness is limited based upon the realm you are in. Now, for the most part, yeah, like I was saying, we in this motherfucker, so you have to look at it like we're coming out. And we're the blood cells. We are the blood flow. So on our level down here, you think it's water. But then on a lower level than us down here, when we look at our blood, to our life, we just look at we got blood. But it's many different blood cells and things of that nature all together, which is the life that we're living on another level. So we looking at it like we think it's water. But water and all of us all together will appear to look like blood and the bloodstream and the blood flow of the being we are in. You get what I'm saying? This is why I say things like music is blood on a higher level, on the third level than the being we are. So we in the third level, third layer of being. So in the Centaur constellation, water and all forms of fluid down here is the vibration in the blood for the Centaur. But music that we hear and sounds and sigils and music and vibes and music and shit, that would be the lesser dense. That would be the blood for the third layer being we are in. And then after that, that being is in a world, which is our Draconian constellation. It's in a world, and that world is a 3-layer world. Now, we don't really know how that world works for the most part, but we just know the overall is there, and the overall got many different offsprings that may control one layer of the realm. He might got many different. I mean, I didn't mean to say he. It might got many different offsprings that control the center layer. Then it got a bunch of offsprings that control the outer layer. But this 3-layer is really one thing. And then within these layers, you got many different offsprings of the overall, which is God. God is not it's a parameter, you know what I'm saying? And it needs these things to extend the parameter based upon transformation, which y'all call dying or separating. It's really just expansion and contraction, right? And then we become the offsprings of those other spirits, and we keep creating shapes and forms for us to inhabit, to experience forms to expand parameter. You know what I'm saying? So quit tying this. The spirit is your space. It creates shapes and forms. Anybody who try to tie a word or a language, which we know God has no word to explain it. Your spirit got no word to explain it. We give it words and titles and letters just to explain what it's doing, and the type of word or the type of sigil and the angle of it is showing the direction it's going. So that's telling you the meaning of it and the direction it's going. Is it righteous? Is it going left field? Is it upright, optimistic? Is it down? And that's telling you the perspective of it. But the moment you try to say the spirit is something, like, is you retarded? Like, you see what I'm saying? You trying to say the spirit is something in this realm. This realm we creating shit. See what I'm saying? Flight bus, bitch. Goddamn air. You know what I'm saying? But that's just getting a little deep. You know, I'm gonna cut this motherfucking video out because my phone about to motherfucking die. I'm gonna charge this motherfucker up, try to go live. But yeah, just to give y'all the little concept and overstanding and understanding, you know what I'm saying? And stop trying to limit your spirit. Your spirit is limitless. And you letting other people out here letting their spirit be limitless and create some shit, and based upon, because they vibing so high and they get popular and turn into elites and celebrities and governments and shit, you want to be a spiritual hater, but you still go along with them. So you want to play follow the leader or how to reach the egg. You ain't got to follow no, you could create your own way of how to reach the egg. See what I'm saying? Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air.